So the city of Scotts Valley is trying really hard to conserve resources, but also to prevent pollution of stormwater runoff. And doing a lot of the stuff that LeAnne's going to talk to you about today does a lot of that. So, you know, the more we can sink water, the more we can slow it down and sink it, it recharges our groundwater, which is important after your story. And it also lets nature do its job of cleaning the water instead of making it flow fast into the ocean. I've had the pleasure of working with LeAnne. She's been at the Water District now for about 5 years. She helps us with our green businesses, with our green schools, with my neighbors, by the way, have been raving about you. I live right here in Sky Park, and my neighbors have been raving about this wonderful, magical woman who comes out and tests all your plumbing fixtures and finds leaks and knows everything about all the plants that can replace your lawns. And no, seriously, it was funny. I was asking, well, who is this magical woman? Like, LeAnne from the Waters. I'm like, oh, I know her.
I guess I shouldn't badmouth the Water District.
No, you can.
It's just that it seemed like that we lost the water about the time they started. They sunk all those deep wells and sucked down
yeah.
It went my way.
Yeah,
That's a good topic offline because that could happen. There's a completely different set of people, but people do like to know.
Yeah, they
how those
probably
things
want to know.
affect.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely one aquifer. It's one punch bowl we're all drawing from.
And it dropped down below our well. Of course, the earthquake didn't help, but it was gone. It was gone before the earthquake. I mean, it was gone.
Yeah.
And then the earthquake, well, it really gone.
Yeah. And, you know, a series of droughts probably doesn't help. Yeah.
Well, we put the well in, it was a long time, it was 40 years ago, that's when we had all that rain, and when they dug it, I mean, there was plenty of water, it rushed out and everything, but
Things have changed.
things have changed.
Yeah. So, LeAnne is going to talk to you about Monterey Bay friendly gardening and how to conserve water while you're doing that. And I'll let her take it from here. And thanks for coming today. And what's your name?
Gilbert.
Gilbert. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
All right.
And this is Lindsay and Nancy and Gilbert. You might as well be on a first name basis.
Just us, so we got two.
And what's your name, sir? Mike. Hi, Mike. I'm LeAnne. There's 3 comfy chairs left, so feel free. I asked Lindsay and Nancy to pretend like it's your living room, so feel free to bring them up. I mean, potentially this could be a long slideshow. It's up to you how long you stay. I have a lot of information, but we'll kind of gauge and see how interested you are, how in depth you want to go. Okay. So to get started, I'm going to show some slides, and if you have questions, go ahead and ask them as we go. I may say that's coming up or something, but you don't have to save your questions till the end. This is very informal, and I just want to be a resource for you and answer any questions that I might know. And they say if I don't know, I'll make it up, right? Okay, just kidding. Okay, so I wanted to welcome you to the Scotts Valley Water District. You're sitting, and this is a agency-made jurisdiction. We're not part of the city of Scotts Valley officially. We're a special district. We only have about 4 to 6 wells that we draw from for about 10,000 people. So we're considered a small district. We have about 4,000 meters or connections out there. So that would be homes, businesses, fire services, recycled water. So you're in that district. You're also in a natural watershed, which is Carbonero Creek. We could also say you're in maybe we could say that you're in the Camp Evers watershed that flows into the Carbonero, right? The Carbonero flows into the Bransett-Forty Creek. Bransett-Forty Creek flows into what's the biggest river in the county, just about? Very good, yeah. So the San Lorenzo, Soquel, and Pajaro are probably the biggest, right? Yeah. So you can say you're in a sub-watershed, but it's important to know where everything that comes off your rooftop is going to land up in that watershed. That means at the bottom where gravity's going to take it, it's usually a water course, a creek or a river. So if you're putting all kinds of pesticides, herbicides on your lawn and in your garden, and you over-apply it, and it ends up raining, it's likely into Scotts Valley and a little bit over there. It's bounded by fault lines, so it's a natural formation. The San Lorenzo Valley Water District and other small districts and Scotts Valley and all of our people who are private well owners, we're all taking out of that reservoir of water. It's underneath the ground, we can't see it. We know a lot about it, but we don't have x-ray vision. It's not like a big lake sitting under the ground. There's a little fissures of water that might have infiltrated into the ground hundreds or thousands of years ago. So this water that we're pumping up, our deepest well is about 1,200 feet. We don't pump water at that level, but that's how far down we dug. So that water could be hundreds of thousands of years old. So when we're pumping it up, I think we need to really know how precious it is because it's been naturally infiltrated. It came down with rainfall or fog, and it's been cleansed by the ground. So it's really good water. It's high in minerals. It's not always nice on your shower window or your glasses. It does leave mineral deposits, but I call it heart healthy water because it has a lot of minerals in it. So anyway, this is important to know because this is our lifeboat. We are completely dependent on this water basin for our survival. We cannot get water in from the state of California, from the Central Valley Project. We don't get water from the Sierras or Oroville Reservoir. We're in a lifeboat out here on this side of the summit. So this is a very special aquifer that we have here. It's a series of aquifers in a groundwater basin. So if we don't take care of it, we literally can't live here. So it's very important to me. So we have 62 miles of water mains, 4,000 meters, 4 active wells right now, 4 treatment plants. That means when we pump the groundwater out, we have to treat it for any bacteria that might have come into it. We filter it, and then we bring it to your homes and businesses. We use about 1,300 acre-feet of water, and 1 acre-foot is 325,000 gallons. So if you did the math, it's a lot of gallons. We have recycled water that the city produces and we distribute, and about 10 to 15% of our annual water for landscapes comes from recycled water from the sewage treatment plant. So that's fabulous. So we already have a conservation right off the top of 10 to 15% that we're not pumping clean well water out of the ground. For some of our large landscapes, we're using recycled water. We have 9 rebates, and so if you do some of these retrofits that I'm going to talk about, you may have a financial incentive to reward you for doing that. Toilets and urinals, we give rebates for. We also give rebates for gray water and rainwater, for impervious pavement replacement. Now we have one for pressure regulators, which are very important to have on your home and your business, and smart irrigation controllers, and low volume irrigation and lawn replacement. Okay, so feel free to go on our website or call me up anytime. Some of them require a pre-inspection because we don't know how much lawn was there unless we measure it beforehand. So I come out and I measure it before and after, and then you get a check in the mail. It's pretty cool. So we have 17 employees and we serve 10,000 people. So that's where you are, that's who I work for. And I'm the conservation coordinator, and I love my job. It's really fun. So what I'm here to talk about is an incentive program that's going to reward you. It's a voluntary effort. It's something like the green business where you can hang a sign. This metal sign here, can you see it, everybody? It is an optional sign that you can put out in your yard that says, hey, I try to adhere to sustainable practices and I'm kind of proud of it, and hey, ask me questions about it. So we're trying to create a community norm about sustainable landscaping, because landscaping has the power to really enhance the environment and actually degrade it as well. You also get your landscape featured on our website. It can be anonymous if you like. And then the really cool thing is you get a little card and you can go to landscape supply houses and nurseries and get a lifetime discount as long as the program is in and the business wants to participate. You get a discount. And we know, do you like plants? Anybody here? You like to buy plants? They're kind of fun. I notice they're really easy to buy, but they're kind of hard to get in the ground sometimes. But they're fun to buy, they can add up. So it's kind of nice to get 10, 15% off, that kind of thing. All right, so that's what we're here to talk about, but hopefully to educate you about some of the options that you may have considered or that you may know about to share with the group as well, because I'm here to learn with you. So this is going to populate, I guess. There's another picture. But we've kind of inherited a tradition of non-regenerative urban landscaping. I don't know if any of you remember these days, but especially post-war, there was a lot of use of chemicals. It was better living through chemistry. And everyone had a lawn, and it was very much part of the American dream. But even before that, it was part of being very wealthy in England and the British Isles, okay? So that's really ingrained in our old social history. So if you were wealthy enough in England, you could have your serfs take a side and just cut your lawn and you didn't have to graze animals. So if you had a huge expanse, think of an old stone manor, and you would be protected from marauders. You could see them coming from miles away. You would beat back the forest and animal predators wouldn't come in. So you were very much in dominion of your environment when you had a green at a manor. And so the suburban landscape brought that to America post-war. It was like, and Frederick Law Olmsted, who designed Central Park and a lot of urban areas, this is the working class. They get to have their own manor out in public space. Now when the suburbs come, you get your own little manor around your house. And that is very unconsciously ingrained in our psyche. And so we're trying to reduce lawns in our environment because they take up so much what? What do lawns take a lot of to sustain themselves?
Water.
Water. What else? What else do people put on their lawns sometimes? Fertilizers? Herbicides, like weed killer? Yeah. So what we're doing is kind of artificially propping up this plant that doesn't really grow here naturally. Now, if you go to England, it rains a lot in the summer, or even back east, and it's a lot easier to maintain a lawn. But this is the arid West, and so we've just sort of unconsciously imported this tradition, and so we're trying to look at other alternatives. So we have unused lawns that really serve no purpose except to be a green carpet. And lawns can be beautiful and really lovely. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate lawns, but they're usually overused. This is what we call dysfunctional or non-functional landscaping, because when you step out on this, you might get your feet wet, it's going to be soft and it's even, but no one's going to play on that, no one's going to recreate on that lawn, and that's what we want to keep lawns as a focus of, or to minimize them aesthetically. But to have vast expanses of lawns are no longer sustainable in the West. So what we have is dead, compacted, and sometimes even toxic soils, where people put they overly over-apply chemicals. And we have unhealthy plants, and we have waterways. There's the picture. So you can see the shearing of these plants. This is a practice that we do. It's very unhealthy for the plant and actually creates like a woody interior, and then you have to keep shearing it back. So you actually get a landscape that doesn't really look all that natural. So as I say, we can save time and money, and we can preserve our environment by doing more natural landscaping. Now, you may not like the aesthetic of this. You may like say, I can take it or leave that. We're going to show some other pictures, and if you would kind of look at what do you like about it and just take what you like out of it, because it's a very different look than a green lawn. So we're going for permeable soil, meaning soil that has still air in it, it's friable, so the water can infiltrate into the root zone. We're looking at healthier plants that don't have to be propped up with chemicals and fertilizers and herbicides. We're looking at lower water use, no runoff because the water's going to slow sink and spread into the ground. And we're going to create natural habitat for natural songbirds and pollinators. And what kind of pollinators do we have around here? What kind of animals pollinate?
Hummingbirds.
Good, birds, yes. Anybody else? There's a lot of bee animals. Bees, birds, butterflies. There's one that's kind of scary.
Bats.
That's right. And beetles, even. Flies could pollinate too. Do you know, have I left anything out? Anybody a naturalist here? So there's a lot of beneficial bugs and critters that we do want in our yards. So the Bay Friendly program was started in the larger Bay Area in 2002. They established guidelines. We had a green gardener program, so the people who are in the trades and do landscaping, we tried to train them in these alternative ways of maintaining yards. And now we have over 500 green gardeners certified in the Monterey Bay, so that's kind of exciting. If you want to take the class, it's through the adult ed school. Anyone can take the class. You don't have to be a gardener. I took it and I really enjoyed it. It's also simultaneously translated into Spanish. So that's really fantastic. That even opens it up to a lot more people. This is our logo. You can see it on our sign. We used an egret. It's supposed to be like out in the kind of an estuary, almost like the Poplar River. This is just a regional voluntary program. If you want to participate in it, you just have someone come out, a rater like myself, and we come and look at your landscape, and we go through this checklist, and we see if you meet all this criteria. If you don't, we give you ideas and talk about it if you want to continue on and try to get to all 10 of them. And if not, we've had a great conversation and we've shared some good gardening stories. And that's that. But we do like to encourage you to talk about this with your friends and see if you can make it even a norm on your street.
But if you don't have a landscape,
That's great. You have a natural landscape.
except for all the grass that we're trying to weed out now.
You mean the native grass?
No, unfortunately, it's ripped up brome mainly, which is not a native. It's from Europe. It's horrible and it's awful. It's foxtails.
Yes.
And that's the main thing that the sand doesn't support too much. And I mean,
Right.
as far as native, at least the native grasses that were native here are basically been pushed out. And I
Yes.
don't even know what would be. We have a little bit of wild oats, but I guess it's probably native. But other than that, it's all foxtails and this horrible grass that's, I guess it was imported from Europe as cattle feed in the beginning, but it's only grazable when it's really young, and then when it goes to seed, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we import, we don't know the ramifications of them, yeah, for sure. So does everyone kind of get the gist of what this Monterey Bay Landscape Incentive Program is? If you want to have your landscape certified, just let us know. We have 7 guiding principles. These are the goals that we're going for. We're trying to conserve energy, maintain water and air quality, landscape locally, so not importing a lot of stuff that doesn't belong here, like plants, even like rockery. Like, can you get rockery in aromas versus India? How does that affect the environment? So you've got all those transportation costs and all the carbon footprint of transporting really heavy substances all over the globe. The more we can use things locally, the better for the environment. We want to nurture the soil and actually make it alive instead of just dirt. And we want to increase habitat take less green waste to the landfill, and of course conserve water. So this is what's on your sheet. We're gonna go through each of these. There's gonna be a lot of information. Actually, you're gonna get a lot of information that the raters get, the people that actually certify your landscape. So in a way, you may be more information than you want, but you'll really have a good idea of what they're looking for if you do ask a rater to come to your home and see if you qualify for the incentive program. So again, we want to use mulch and compost to create that living, permeable soil that just can really soak up nutrients and water. We want to space plants appropriately, so we don't want to overplant, so that when the plants reach maturity, we have to keep hacking them back, or we have to just pull them out, and then we have sort of sometimes funny holes in the landscape. And we want to practice natural pruning. So we don't want to shear plants, we want to go into the middle of the plants and take out from the inside and create air and light so it can come into the middle of the plant. We don't want to plant invasive species such as the broom that's in the Sand Hill environment in the San Lorenzo River watershed. We want to grow drought tolerant. They don't have to be California native plants, but they have to be adapted to this environment. So this is a Mediterranean climate. It happens in 6 places in the world. You know where else there's a Mediterranean climate besides the Mediterranean in Europe? California.
Western, central Chile.
Central, yeah.
Australia.
Yes. Australia.
And the Western Cape in South Africa.
Yes. Was that 5 or 6? Forgetting. You might be forgetting one. But great, you guys. You're well worth it. And it's a unique environment. It's a mild environment, typically, but there's a lot of plants. In my office, I have a list of 800 low or very low water plants. So that's a big palette to choose from, really. We don't have to use the same plants over and over again. Reduce or take your lawn out. You don't have to get rid of it completely. And a lot of times people get rid of it in their front yard and they leave the backyard for the lawn. Practice weather-based irrigation scheduling. What that means is instead of just setting your irrigation controller or your timer, actually you get a controller that actually reads the weather for you. And replace spray irrigation that puts out a lot of water and tends to drift and mist. It's not necessarily drip, but low irrigation. Those can be micro sprayers, inline drip irrigation, or drip irrigation with emitters. And they're even having subsurface irrigation now. You can put irrigation under your lawn. And you can get drought tolerant lawn. So if you do that, we'll even consider giving you a rebate for that because you're going to save so much water. Don't put sprinklers near sidewalks and driveways because it always flows onto the concrete. It's really hard to prevent that. And no matter how much you water concrete, it doesn't grow. So, and it just slides off into the gutter. And when it rains, we want to capture rainfall as a resource. It's like manna, right, from the sky. It's, as we know from this drought, we really appreciate it more. So we want to slow it down, we want to sink it and spread it. And we'll talk about many ways to do that. And we want to use ecological landscape maintenance methods. And we'll talk about that. Questions so far? Is this new information for you? Does this surprise you, this list? Anybody have like, wow, where's something missing from this list? Yes?
Is this program only for people living in incorporated areas or using water from the water district?
No. Anybody who wants to save water. Because actually, the people that have their own well, we're all sharing the aquifer.
It's supposed to be.
We're supposed to be, and now it's mandated by law. Last night we had our first meeting now we're official groundwater agency. So the state says, you have to talk to other water districts, you have to talk to the private well owners, and you have to work it out. Because the state's not in good shape with groundwater. Not good at all. We're in a better shape here. Parts of the southern San Joaquin Valley are actually sinking because so much groundwater has been pumped out of them. It's called subsidence. And you see the pictures of, where the ground was, 20 plus feet above where the person's standing.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing. And then when we had the drought and there wasn't surface water, much more groundwater or well water was taken out. So now we have to talk to each other, and we are codependent. We're interdependent, hopefully not codependent. We're independent on each other. We may not realize it, and we may fight about it, but we have to work it out. Water is only going to become more precious as time goes on. So I talked about how to meet the standards. Someone comes out and looks at your property. The third-party rater is usually a person who works in a water district or is a professional landscaper. And then you get the public recognition, the sign. We take pictures of your landscape. You can be anonymous. You don't have to be on our website. And then we give you the discount card. These we'll talk about later, but these are all the things that we would like you to do to maintain your landscape. So we can come back to that. That's a long list. That's definitely breaking the PowerPoint rules of no more than 5 words, right? But what I did was I copied that for you so that you don't have to memorize that or take notes. But hopefully, if nothing else, maybe you'll get some ideas for the maintenance of your own landscape, or if you pay someone to do it, you might give them some ideas. We asked that if you have a professional landscaper that you ask them to sign this agreement and actually adhere to these practices. This is all honor system and all voluntary, of course. Yes?
Grass cycling.
Grass cycling is simply leaving grass on your lawn when you mow it, not to bag it up. The advantage, great question.
No dethatching.
Well, the thatching actually comes from the base of the plant. The clip stuff on the top doesn't really contribute to thatching. Thatching is usually from over-fertilizing and over-watering. The density of the grass becomes very thick, and then it can't get sunlight into it. But the grass cycling actually helps shade the grass. It leaves the water, it falls down and makes compost, basically. It's just fertilizing itself, really. So every time you bag up your lawn and your green waste, you're taking that water that's grew that plant, you're taking it to landfill where it actually creates greenhouse gases. It's actually pretty nasty. You think, oh, it's just going to decompose, but it actually creates a lot of greenhouse gases. And we do recycle it here. That's really fabulous. You can buy mulch that's made from green waste. Are you all familiar with Vision Recycling at the landfill? No. You can buy lower cost mulch and chips there because they take the green waste. But still it takes energy to produce that. So as much as you can compost and leave some of your clippings on the ground, maybe some of your leaf stuff, that's going to add back into your, help your soil. So anyway, that's all there. It's a long list. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. It's a lot to think about. But feel free to take that home. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Let's go to prettier pictures. A lot of words are no fun. So I think I kind of covered this. We hope this is a growing community standard, that people understand that their landscapes really do make a difference in the environment. We hope businesses and people in their residents, and even agencies like parks, schools, churches. These are some of the advantages to you. You can save 50 to 70% on your water use. They can reduce your maintenance and labor if you pay someone to do it. If you do it yourself, it'll save you time, because a more natural landscape is going to take a lot less labor to keep going. How many of you have a lawn? You can admit it. I won't get mad at you. Yeah. So how often do you mow it in the summer when it's really growing? Are you one of those people that gets out there every Saturday or Sunday? That's good, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, no.
Just kind of let it grow along.
Yeah, we don't water it, so it just dies.
Yeah, a lot, people are doing that now too. They're like, well, it's green when it's green, and then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, and what'll happen is, all the water that you can keep on your property without letting it run off, that's actually gonna create a sponge, and it's gonna bank the water over the winter. And so when spring comes, if you don't let anything run off your property, or you reduce that, you're actually gonna be, you're gonna start irrigating weeks longer into the spring. You'll notice a difference if you start doing some of these techniques to make sure that the water sinks into the ground. And then a huge greenhouse gas reduction, which helps the entire planet. What do you see in this picture? What do you call this kind of ditch here? Do you have a name for it? Because there's a lot of different names people use.
Is that a swale?
You could call it a swale. A swale's kind of just a ditch, yeah? A swale can run on the contour, so it can just hold the water, or it can run downhill so that it'll actually carry water to infiltrate. Yeah, you could call that a swale. Some people might call that a dry creek bed. Have you ever heard that term used? And some people could say, well, that's vegetated or not vegetated. And this is sort of, in the creek itself, there's not a lot of plants. So you could say it's non-vegetated. You can buy plants that are really adapted to living in an environment where they get a ton of rain and the water stays there for a few days and it doesn't kill them. So we'll be talking about that. You think, well, why would you want to put a ditch in your landscape? Well, because that's going to slow spread and sink the water. You can do a ditch. It doesn't have to be this big. It doesn't have to have rocks in it. You could actually do it with a hoe. You notice if you go outside and you channel water when it's raining, you can really move water through your landscape. It's pretty amazing what you can do. So we talked about this already, right? Go like this, you guys. So okay. And these are some of the we talked about the rebates that we have in our district, but there's other districts in the area and they offer a lot of rebates for these things as well. So we're going to start by talking about soil. What we want is you to have 2 to 4 inches of mulch on top of your soil. And what that does, it can kind of top dress your soil so it looks kind of nice. It can smother weeds. It reduces weed growth. It actually insulates the roots so it protects them from frost as well as heat. And it actually keeps the moisture in the soil. So mulch is the word. It's not grease is the word, right? It's mulch. Whenever you put mulch on soil, you're going to add to the health of that soil. And it's usually going to look nice too. Do you ever see this? This is a certification. It's an organic materials. There's also the American Composting Council. So you can look for those if you want. But just about any mulch will help. And guess what? You can get free mulch. Anybody know how? I think I told some of you guys. Do you know how to get free
Go
mulch?
to the,
What?
go to the city, is it the city with the yard waste, the green waste?
Well, yeah, you can get lower priced mulch at the landfill from Vision Recycling. That's a company that makes it. But you can also call the tree companies. Because what do they do all day? They cut down trees and they chip it. So you can get free wood chips. I would call Davy Tree Company. They seem to be the most responsive. Some of them are even charging now like $25 or $50 a load. But they'll come by with a truck and they'll give you clean wood chips. It won't have plastic or log leaves in it. And you better know, tell them where to dump it because you're going to get a big pile of chips. And it can be very overwhelming. But then you put a sign out to your neighbors and you say, when you're done shoveling, putting them in the wheelbarrow, you just say free chips. And you get to know your neighbors and you're a hero. So, and it's all for free. So don't be overwhelmed with the cost. If you go to a landscape supply center, it can cost some money. There can be a delivery charge. but you also get to choose what quality you get and that sort of thing. But if you want free chips, it's worked for me. We talked about this already. These are the advantages of mulch. And what is this right here? Besides a ditch. I'd call that a dry creek bed, but you can call it a swale, you can call it. But just know that a lot of people do this for just aesthetics, but it's actually doing something. But don't put plastic in the bottom. You want the water to go down. Yeah.
Just for your knowledge.
Yes.
If you're in the sand hills, do not mulch, because they say that it causes problems for the June beetles. They don't want you to mulch.
In your own yard?
Anywhere. I mean, in your own yard. I mean, they want,
It could be, yes.
because the June beetles can't get through it. And
Okay, you're right.
They love the June beetles, so just be aware.
You're right.
We have a special thing if you're in the sand hills, and so there are things you don't do there that you do
There's
other
an
places.
endangered beetle there, and if you wanted to do that, you're probably right, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Also, in the sand hill area,
Yeah,
the topsoil is not stable, it's sand.
yes,
And if you put in any sort of water flow directed like that,
like a swale or a dry creek bed, you mean?
your property will end up down in the canyon.
Unless you do it on a contour. I mean, the
Yes.
swale that goes on the contour is good because it holds the water, but
Yes.
not as directed because it's.
Yes.
One of the techniques that developed, I guess, in Africa was where they had very hard compacted soil, and like us up in the hills, you get intense downpours.
Yes.
We can get 10 inches in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you scallop.
Mm-hmm, yes, like fish scales kind of?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that as one scallop
Yes,
area fills up and overflows,
Mhm.
it simply flows into the very next lower
Yes.
one. And it gives the water a chance to, well, slow, right?
Yeah.
It catches it
Sink,
and
spread.
it allows it to soak in. And you can do that to scalloping along, instead of putting a water course.
Yes.
For us, in one night, we had a 10 to 15 foot deep by 20 feet wide gully that was cut like 500 feet.
yes. You're right,
And
absolutely.
It just depends on your terrain. But if
Yes.
you- And all I'm saying is that if you have intense downpours, and if you have unstable topsoil, and if you were to mulch, the mulch will flow.
It can, definitely
It
can.
gets, there's too much water.
Yeah.
It can't soak in
Well,
fast.
especially if it's on a slope, absolutely. Yeah. No, I was gonna come to that, and I think your points are really well taken, because it's good to check in with someone who knows about this before you start carving out your land, because you can create some erosive problems. You're absolutely right. And people are well-meaning, and, but there's something to know about it. You just don't go, digging a ditch, down a hill, because then you're actually speeding the water up. Thank you very much. This is sheet mulching. These are rolls of cardboard, and where they had a lawn, they actually just covered it with cardboard instead of digging it out, treating it with Roundup, or applying black plastic on the top. So that's something we're going to be talking about later. It's something that I've used in my property, and I was really surprised how well it works. All you have to do to maintain it is to reapply the mulch about every 3 years. And again, I just call the tree company when that time comes, and I add more mulch on top. So that's kind of, it can look like a lasagna, kind of. If you really want to get into it, you have your soil here, and you have weeds or grass. Maybe it was grass, but now it's weeds. So this is a cross section, right? Then you put a barrier down. You can put you don't have to put cardboard. You can use newspaper. You can use like old wool carpet. You can use anything that's organic or that was organic at one time. And then you put compost on top, which is actually organic matter that's been broken down. It's not wood chips, that's more mulch. And this is if you want to plant in here, you add this to nutrify the soil. Then you put your mulch or your wood chips on top. You don't have to put the compost down if you're not planting. Let's say you just want to make a pathway for your garden. There's no reason to add compost because you really don't want to encourage growth in a path, right? But if you're putting in some brand new beautiful plants in a planting bed, you definitely could nutrify it and kind of build up the soil that way. You can also put all kinds of layers of minerals and fertilizers and whatever you want. You can really go to town if you want, but you can also keep it very simple. Do you want to watch a little 3-minute video about sheet mulching?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. How did we do that?
Just click on the little
There you
arrow.
go. That's it right there.
Well, this is not live, this arrow. I forgot. Oh, I went on the
You
internet,
were
that's
on
right.
Firefox, I think. There you go.
Okay, thanks. And then I went back to, I think to replay maybe? Yes.
There you go.
But no sound. Right. Nope. But it worked before, huh? Honest, we had it working.
Anyway,
Might
your
use it.
guidelines here are not 100% good for sandhills. It might be wise to, since you do have a lot of sandhills in this area, you might be wise to research and change your specs for sandhills.
You're right. You would take these guidelines and you would adapt them.
But I mean, people who come and inspect, they would need to realize that it's a different environment.
Yeah.
And mulch is an absolute no-no.
It depends.
Well, no, and that's what they
If you
said.
want to preserve the June beetle habitat, yes, that's true.
And they're trying to, the sandhills people are trying to preserve the sandhills because they're, talk about the Mediterranean climate being limited, sandhills.
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
very,
and
very,
so they want to.
yeah. Let me make a promise to you. I will get back to you. I'll do a little research on it. I'll talk to Sherry about it. And maybe that'll be part of an in-service for the raters. And maybe we'll put out a special note because that's really important. Yeah. So you're gonna take all this with a grain of sand, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't help myself. It's okay, it's a different play. Did you reboot it? Like,
I went to
A
copy
different
and paste it to a
browser, okay,
different
yeah.
browser. We're over in
isn't that
Chrome.
interesting?
Yeah, we had it earlier.
I know, it's so interesting. It's always a mystery.
You've got the volume up over there.
Yeah.
Replacing your lawn with low water use landscaping reduces maintenance and looks.
Huh. There it goes. Okay.
She's starting to play that.
Here in California, an estimated 50 cents of water is used for landscape irrigation in the urban areas. Millions of gallons of water are used for non-functional landscaping like turf grass that nobody wants.
Replacing your lawn with low water use landscape reduces maintenance and looks great. On top of that, it's incredibly easy. Ecology Action Waterlink Turf Retrofit Ground partners with the Santa Clara Valley Water District and the California Conservation Corps. Turf retrofits tackle climate change and increase our resilience to future drought. We want to walk you through one of our projects. A large-scale project we recently completed is here at Gilroy High School in Gilroy, California. We converted 15,000 square feet of this high water use lawn to drought-tolerant landscaping and drip irrigation. No matter if your lawn is large or small, the process is the same. Once you design your new garden, converting your lawn takes just 4 simple steps. First, cap all sprinklers and leave one sprinkler to convert to drip irrigation. Second, remove a small strip of lawn around paved areas. Third, put down cardboard and a layer of mulch, more than 4 inches deep.
No, that's mulch that's
A lot of
purchased.
stuff is
It's all uniform.
That's it.
The front of this landscape has been problematic even when we did have drought conditions, and when we had the drought, this area really suffered. It's like the moon here 6 months ago with the lack of water. This has been a very difficult area for us to maintain, so we are really excited that this has been converted into such a beautiful landscape. And I'd like to look at this as a model example of what I can do at other school sites.
This is something that we wanted to do at Gilroy High School, and I don't regret that at all. It's a beautiful, amazing project, as you can see. It's just wonderful having this super urban impact to our campus. This is something that I would consider doing in my yard, absolutely.
The water program will complete 50,000 square feet of turf retrofit projects in Santa Clara County. Altogether, they'll save just under 2 million gallons of water per year. These projects are easy to do with so many resources and water district rebates. Everyone can beautify their own yard and start saving. To learn more about converting your own garden or business property, visit the Ecology Action website or check out the resources below.
It was kind of hard to hear, huh? It was kind of garbled. That's just the way it comes through. But do you have any questions about it? The first thing is to cap off the sprinklers. So you have to dig down and do a screw cap. The other thing is to, what, do you remember the second step?
Oh, dig away from the edges of the, like, sidewalks.
Dig, because it's going to be too high when you put the chips on, then it'll fall on the sidewalk. And then you cover the lawn with cardboard, and you can get free cardboard where? You don't have to buy those rolls. You can if you want. Where could you get free cardboard? Think about a business that has big things. Furniture, bicycle, and appliance stores. And believe me, they don't want the cardboard. They have to pay to have it hauled away. So they love me at my local furniture store. I just go back there and I shove it in my station wagon and I lay it out, and then I call the tree company and they just put it on top. And I've gotten rid of all my lawn and I put raised beds in my backyard. So it's worked well for me. So that, and then if you want to plant plants in it, you just cut a hole in the cardboard, dig the hole, and you can put the drip irrigation under the cardboard, and then just hook it up to each plant, and there you go. It's going to prevent weeds, and it's going to keep that water in the ground, and you're not going to have to water hardly at all. You're going to need a lot of mulch. These are places you can buy the mulch. Remember I was telling you about Vision Recycling? So the next thing is to talk about plants. They want to have a lush, it's nice to have a lush look when you start, when you put it in a landscape, but you have to leave a little bit of room. You have to practice restraint, because in 2 years, your plants are really going to be developing, and you're going to be really happy that you didn't overplant at that time. A lot of times landscapers will plant really densely because that's what their clients, they want that look when they leave because it makes them look good. Then in a couple years, they're not really so happy with it. So if you overplant, you have to shear plants back or pull them out when they get too thick. So urbanite, do you know what urbanite is? No. It's just a fancy word for old concrete.
No.
Instead of, what's the other I word they're pulling off of it? Urban, it's just like concrete. So those are pieces of concrete that have been cut up. You can get that at the dump. People have it on Craigslist. They dig up a patio or something. They don't want it. Other people, they'll stain the concrete and it won't even really look like concrete after a while, or they'll stack it up and make retaining walls out of it. And it's a really green thing to do because there's a lot of embedded energy in the concrete. Here's some of those when we were telling you about shearing and topping. This is a ceanothus, and they don't like to be pruned, so you have to be careful when you shear plants too much, you can actually kill them. This one looks like kind of like a giant popsicle or something. The word there is like, we call that border torture, where you're just constantly shearing the plant. And it's really taxing on the plant because it just keeps pushing out new green growth. And then it's usually dead on it. It's not dead, but it doesn't have any foliage because it has no air or no light that comes in. There's a list of invasive species, and so we ask you not to plant on that list. Do you know what the one is on the left? Do you know? Yes. And have you ever tried to remove it?
Chopping it just makes it grow faster.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's sharp. If you pull it out, it'll cut your hand. I think it's a really neat looking plant, but it's not native to our environment, and it tends to take over. And yeah, it's too bad. I think it's from Australia, maybe? I'm not sure.
South America.
It is South America. From the pampas. Yeah. Thank you. See, I told you I learned things. And the one on the right is ice plant, right? That's a common name. I don't know the botanical name. It's a pretty plant. You see it in freeway dividers and stuff. You go down to Marina, they put it on the sand hill to prevent erosion because we know sand moves. It's actually so heavy it'll pull down sand over time. So it actually sort of backfired on them. So now they're using herbicides to eradicate that plant. So we want species, almost all your plants, to be types that require very little summer irrigation. Now in my yard, I water no more than once a week. I can go 2, 3, 4 weeks with some of my established plants. It's really nice to not have to water. I had a drip system. I just took it out because I just kind of enjoyed watering by hand and I didn't have to do it very much. So it's a way for me to get out in the environment. So again, these are some of the plants that we talked about. Well, you can have lawn to get certified, but we ask that it's no more than 25% of the total area that you irrigate. Now, you can be certified in your front yard, and then your backyard is not certified. So you can have the biggest lawn you want in your backyard. You don't have to meet any of the requirements, but we actually prefer that you do your front lawn because that's what people are going to see. So you can still have a lawn for, kids or grandkids or pets to play on. Usually they use it more in the backyard, but not always. It depends on the design. If your site, let's say your site never had a house on it, what would be we call it a biome, but what would be its natural habitat? Would it be like an evergreen forest? Would it be a chaparral or grassland? Would it be a redwood forest? Would it be an oak woodland? Yours would be a sandhill environment?
Coastal scrub, I guess, is that list.
So it's kind of neat. You kind of start to think, oh, well, what was here before my house was here? Try to sort of honor what naturally grows there. If you're interested in some free plant palettes or just collection of plants and a little design for different environments, if you're thinking about redoing your yard, feel free to take one of these or take one for a friend. We have them for 4 different types of environments. For instance, let's say I live up here in the redwoods. I'm not going to plant ice plant under a redwood, right? Well, number one, it's invasive. But so we want to plant appropriately. So I'll just leave these out here and feel free to take them now or later. There's 4 different landscaping plants. They're just ideas for you. If you know someone who's redoing their lawn and their yard and they don't have any ideas whatsoever. We also have a website that all the water districts support. It has pictures of real gardens from our area, and some of them the plants will have a little yellow box around them. If you hover over it on your computer, it'll tell you what that plant is and all about it, and then you can actually drag it to a plant list. So if you're redoing your yard, you can take that to a nursery, or you can say, hey, I like these plants, do you have them? Or you can take them to a landscape designer and say, hey, I really like these plants, can we weave them into the design that you do? It's kind of fun. It's a website to just check out. And ours is santacruz.watersavingplants.com. And I'll give you some bookmarks that have that that website on the front, and then the Monterey Bay is on the back. I'll just give it to you now.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. If you like being on the web. Some people do. All the plants there are free when you go on the web, right? They don't cost anything to look at, so they're fun. So that's a resource for you. So let's look at another thing, irrigation systems. We could talk for hours about irrigation. Anybody have a irrigation system like with plastic, PVC, or metal pipe under the ground, or do you water by hand, or do you have set out sprinklers? How do you water?
I water by hand, but I don't have a whole lot to water.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it gets you outside and noticing your yard. You might see little critters out there. It's fun. It's a good way to be out in nature, or your little patch of nature.
Yeah, drip system and
Drip?
hand watering.
And hand watering.
In places, yeah.
Okay.
So drip.
Got a spray, but I'm a renter. It came with.
Oh, yeah.
With the place.
Spray
they maintain it.
irrigation, okay.
Well, it's, yeah, they pop up and spray.
Yeah, pop-ups.
I do it and I just have some plants on pots in my.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And how often do you need to, they dry out pretty quick, right? About 3 days?
Well, there's succulents, so
Oh,
just once a
fabulous.
week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Do you propagate them? Do you
Well, I got them from a friend. She already had propagated them, but
Yeah.
they're healthy, so
That's great.
hoping to do that.
They're so neat because they grow so fast and they're so easy to share. You know, sometimes you can cut off a leaf or stem. Do you ever go down to Castroville to Succulent Gardens? They have a nursery down that has 500 varieties of succulents.
Wow.
Don't go down there unless you're gonna be tempted to spend money.
Leave your wallet at home.
Yeah, it's really fun though because they have a succulent extravaganza every year. It's a 2-day festival and it's really fun. They have a taco truck there and they have music and they have all kinds of classes and it's really fun. And the man who used to own it, Robin Stockwell, he just wrote a book called Succulents and it's really good too. I'm gonna see if maybe the library will carry it. The library, I think, did pick up this book. It's called The New American Front Yard, Kiss Your Grass Goodbye, wink, wink. So if you want to take a look at this, you'll see all my place marks in it, but feel free to take a look and you can check it out in the library. You don't have to buy it. Yay for the library.
Hey, could you give me the other title? I'll check and see if we have that and the other
That'd be
title.
great. Yeah,
When-
Succulents by Robin Stockwell. I don't think I've called that one in yet, I'm not sure. Well, what I meant was requested it.
Right.
Called it in. So, they have these controllers or timers now that they have, actually they come with their own little weather station. It's about as big as a pack of cards. This is goes on the eave of your roof. And it costs about $150 to $250, but in our district, we give you $100 rebate back to defray the cost of that. And if you set them up correctly, you never have to reset them because they actually read the solar radiation, how long the day is. They read the temperature. They read precipitation, if it's raining or if there's a heavy fog. They're pretty amazing. I'm not a very high-tech person, but these are really cool. A lot of people don't know how to set them up and they get frustrated, but when they work, they're a very accurate way to water. And so you can just save off the top 15% of your water.
Why not use soil moisture sensors?
You can use those. They tend to, they're not that popular, and I'm not sure why. I've heard that they can be expensive and that your soil can be, different depending on their shade or wind. I think it's considered a more expensive thing, but I don't know a lot about it. They tend to use it more commercially for golf courses and such.
Yeah, the ones I've seen aren't necessarily more expensive, but
Okay.
they are very sensitive to your soils. Depending on the type of soil you have,
Yes.
you'll get
Sand.
different readings, and that can throw things off.
Because you tend to care about moisture in the soil, I'm going to give you your free soil sample. See?
It's like a meat thermometer?
Yeah, you just stick it in the ground and it goes up and down.
Yeah.
Don't leave it in the ground because it'll burn the battery out. But if, let's say you have a potted
But it's
plant,
for testing,
yes, for testing the soil.
spot testing. And
This is a soil sensor too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
the one
it
I
gets
use a lot.
dirty and it gets under your
This is
fingernails.
the longer probe.
It's longer too. So if you want your own, just come by the district and get one from us. Those are free. So we do recommend you going to this if you think it's something you would use. That's another one. They're on-site sensors. There's other ones where you can, your controller will call up to the internet and it'll get the forecast. But we tend to like the ones that are right on your property because then you're going to get very specific information.
So they're like weather stations.
They're a little mini weather station, really, yeah. And those are about $150 and the controllers are about $100 or vice versa. So usually for about $250, you can get a controller and a sensor. One of, Rainbird carries one, Hunter carries them. Quite a few of the makers are carrying them. So here's some of them right there. These tend to be more commercial, a little bit higher quality, a little bit more expensive than some of the other brands. And usually when you're dealing with irrigation, it really does pay to get a higher quality. It's more like, it's considered a commercial grade, a little sturdier. Yeah. Now, there's a law in California that says if you put in a new landscape, if you put in, you can't use spray irrigation if your planting bed is narrower than 8 feet. So the state is really saying, hey, you know what? We're not gonna let you do that because you can't spray air efficiently. It's gonna run off the back and it's gonna overspray. You can see it like parking lot medians. They'll do spray irrigation and there's always all kinds of water running off. So some of the things are changing slowly but surely, and sometimes quickly. The MWELO is the state model water efficient landscape ordinance. So if we talked about irrigation design, what could you tell me about 4 spray heads in the corner of this parking lot median?
It's too much. Yes.
Okay. Now we're hoping that these are just quarter spray heads, that they're not 360 and they're not going around this way, but we've seen some crazy stuff out there. However, these are high volume spray heads, so even if they're okay this way, they're gonna overshoot. You guys can see that by looking at it. So what would you recommend instead? What other kind of irrigation could you put in there?
Drip.
You could just run some inline emitter tubing. It's actually punctured, so you don't have to put little emitters on them. You could just wrap around the periphery of that. Now this tree is probably established. It probably doesn't even really need irrigation. So many of our established plants and shrubs and trees don't need irrigation unless we're under severe drought. The problem was during the drought, people had trees on their lawn. They stopped watering their lawn, and what happened to the tree? Yeah, or it's really stressed because its root system was right at the surface. It spread out and said, hey, I know where the water is. I'm gonna go under the lawn all over. I'm not gonna send my roots down deep where I can get maybe water from an aquifer or just moisture down below. And so we sort of make it artificially dependent and grow in a growth pattern that's dependent on spray irrigation. Can you see this kind of haziness, this kind of misting? A lot of people think, oh, that's really nice. It's gonna put a nice little mist on my plants, but actually that's picked up by the wind, and it means that the pressure's too high in that system, the irrigation, and it's actually gonna create, the droplets are gonna be too small. They're not gonna land down on the plants as readily. It's a lot of common sense, but there's a lot of things to know. Here you need to really think about water pressure because we have high water pressure here. Here's that inline tubing I was talking about. It's punctured every 6, 12, or 18 inches. So if you have a big ground cover and you serpentine it through, it can be quite effective. You can put individual emitters for the plants. And then here's that inline tubing. So this has got holes in it all along. So you can do a lot of nice mass plantings that way. So we want the sprinkler heads not to be on the edge of the grass or the planters so that it sprays onto hardscapes. So we don't want runoff and we don't want overspray. So that's important to us. How many times do you see this? People think that this is normal. This is water waste and this is something we can't afford anymore. What happened here?
Install backwards.
Oops.
Yeah.
Do you know how to fix that? Usually you can just go and twist it. So if you see that on someone's yard, and if you're strange like me, I will go and twist it back for them. Because a lot of times people irrigate at night and the landscaper or the homeowner never sees this. They have no idea. I went out early doing patrol for violations and one of the businesses in Scotts Valley, I called them in the morning and I said, I was out at your place at 5 o'clock this morning and you have a lot of runoff in your parking lot. You have a big problem. And he said, oh, I don't think so. I don't have any problem. I said, well, sir, there's a family of ducks in your parking lot and they just didn't find it this morning, right? So he created habitat, right? But not really the kind of habitat we want. So here's a design solution. There were spray heads here. There was all grass here. Now we cut out, we do some sheet mulching, we get rid of part of the lawn, but we still have the lawn look. And we set those sprinkler heads in here. So we can spread, they probably put drip on here and then set the heads out here onto the lawn. So then if it sprays backwards, it's just gonna get these plants a little bit wet. So that's great. So that's what we're going for. This is how you convert spray to drip. We don't need to go into detail about that. And what we want you to start thinking about is when the water falls onto your property, we don't want it to go down out to the street. Instead, we want you to use rain as a resource. What's happening when this rain falls off? He's capturing it in a rain barrel. He's putting a depression around his tree so that the water tends to collect around his tree. And then he's putting, these arrows mean that there's a depression where the plantings are, so the water tends to pool around the plants instead of mounding where it tends to run off. So there's a lot of neat things you can do. This is a fabulous book, Harvesting Rainwater, or you can go onto his website, Brad Lancaster. He has tons of information that's all free that he readily shares. So we want to slow, sink, and spread stormwater. I don't know if you can tell, but that is a rainwater harvesting barrel or tank or cistern, you might hear it called. And then here's a native landscape or low water landscape that it produces. And so these are some of the things you can do. The dry creek beds, the swales. A rain garden is just a depressed planting where the rain tends to congregate. And what's the difference between a rainwater barrel, cistern, or tank? Nothing really. They're just, barrels tend to be 55 gallons. So if someone says I have a cistern, they're usually saying they have a tank. Sometimes that people refer to a cistern that's underground, or it used to be stone, but these words are used interchangeably a lot. So the whole idea is if I have a container for my water, I can capture some of it and then release it gradually. However, these containers can be expensive and they can take up a lot of room. So again, the easiest, the cheapest, and the most ecological way to store water is actually in the soil itself with these types of strategies. So you can have passive rainwater where you use it immediately and you put it out in the soil, or it's active where you store it. Anybody have rainwater here? Rainwater harvesting, active barrel? Sometimes people just put buckets out. I mean, you can do whatever you want. If you do collect it within 2 days, female mosquitoes can find it and lay egg. So you just have to cover it. Yeah, anybody, I mean, a lot of people did that during the drought. They just had buckets everywhere. Yeah. And I have a whole presentation about rainwater harvesting. And if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer whatever I can. So these cobbles, they may not look like much, but they're gonna slow the water down. It's gonna splash. It's gonna tend to not erode when the water comes out. It's gonna help slow, sink, and spread the water. This is one of the things we want to avoid, is a suburban home downspout goes down the driveway and it's gone. It's gone to the bay. And you think, oh, it's good for the creek. Not really, because it's a flash of water when it rains. It inundates our creeks. It picks up pollutions. It picks up grease and oil. And it actually adds pollution to our local creek. So we actually would like you to keep it on the water on your property as much as possible. We actually give a rebate if you had a downspout like this and you diverted it so it went into your plants and away from your house, of course. You don't want it to be close to your foundation. If you just certainly move that around and had like a little swale that went through there to move it away into your planting area, we actually give you a rebate for that. We give you $75 because it's so important to us, because you're going to help us recharge our aquifer. It may not go down to the aquifer, but you're going to saturate your soil so you don't have to use the water that we're going to pull out of the aquifer. This is before planting, and this is probably 2 years after. So it really does help it helps the environment retain water. Remember, don't line that with plastic, because then it won't sink in the ground, okay? You can put weed cloth down to discourage weeds, and also so the rocks won't sink down into the ground. So this was on the west side of Santa Cruz. This gentleman just took his downspout and put that corrugated pipe. He dug a depression, then he put some weed cloth down and some rocks, then he planted around it, and this was it in 2 years. Amazing. And he also takes all his extra water, like I think one of you said you take maybe your dishwater or your warm-up water from your shower and you put it outside. It goes a long way. So if you plant, he planted around here, but if you plant right in here, you have to get certain kinds of plants that can take that standing water. And they tend to be like in the reed and juncus family, kind of plants that are kind of hollow inside. That's not very scientific, but, and here's a cross-section of a rain garden. But again, you don't have to plant in the depression where the rocks are. You can plant on the sides. We also encourage interlocking pavers. Even though this is solid, it's got enough space around it that the water will infiltrate down. Does it make sense why we're so adamant about sinking the water into the ground? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a really new concept to a lot of people, because they're like, who cares? But it's really gonna, it'll do wonders out in your landscape. You can do flagstone. You can plant in between, you can do gravel, you can do decomposed granite. There's a variety of things you can put between flagstone. This is urbanite, which is just a fancy word for old
concrete.
Yeah, right. This is an old patio. Took a jackhammer and made little pieces of it, and then they put raised beds and just made it as a pathway in their garden. So they reused it. So it's expensive to haul off concrete and to re-pour it, so why not just make do with what you have? This is stained concrete, excuse me, stained urbanite, next to a poured patio. Sometimes you can't even tell that, I mean, you know it's not natural stone probably if you really look at it, but it doesn't scream concrete to you. There's also a cool thing called pervious concrete. That means permeable. It's like a Rice Krispie treat, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically concrete without the fines or the sand. And the water will actually infiltrate like that. If you go to Whole Foods on 41st Avenue in the seating area outside, they have it in Arona Gulch. The pathway is permeable. Pervious concrete. There's also pervious asphalt now. So we will pay people $1 a square foot if they take out old concrete or asphalt and put gravel down or pervious material. Yes?
Believe that we've got that because it's right by the lagoon at the Live Oak Library. And we're gonna get that pervious concrete for the parking lot at Felton.
Great,
And it's the same story there, and
great,
they're in places where they're right by water,
yeah.
so.
It really makes a big difference because when you go outside and you watch it, you know, concrete or asphalt when it's raining on the slope, you just see it sheeting up, right? And it's just all going down and inundating the creeks and picking up pollution. And then it causes erosion too. There's a variety of ways you can do rainwater harvesting. There's books on it. Some people make their own ferro cement. I just go on Craigslist and I get the 275-gallon totes. They're cubes and they have metal wrapped around them. They're like a cage. They use them. You see them in the agricultural community, but I buy them used, and I just use those for my rainwater harvesting because they're a lot cheaper. I've gotten 275 gallons for $75 each, whereas if you bought that at a 275 gallon, you probably easily pay that much or more for the same amount of gallons. This is a really neat tank though. It's expensive, but it's nice, the one up top, because it tucks in close to your house. That's the Bushman. It's an Australian brand. They sell it locally here, and you can. And then of course we have the big green, black, brown ones. Those tend to be cheaper. And you can sink tanks into the ground, but they take a special tank because they will cave in, and they'll also float up to the surface if you're not careful.
Aren't there other systems where you bury tanks and then fill in the interstitial spaces with rock or gravel?
Yeah,
It's a cistern type thing.
Yeah.
Then you put either your lawn or your garden on top.
Or a driveway.
Well, but the idea was that it provides water
Yes.
for the plants above it.
Yeah. There's some.
Yeah.
Where did you learn about that?
Oh, well, it's been here a couple of times out to the gardening
Oh, the garden fair?
fairs that they've had.
Okay, cool.
Some of the rainwater catchment people offer them. There's a dozen different varieties.
Yeah.
There's pluses and minuses, but the idea is if you wanted a little patch of lawn, for example, you can have a couple of 55-gallon drums sliced in half and inverted so that they provide a chamber. And then you can put rock and gravel filling in the interstitial space.
Yeah.
And then put again a layer of material on top, and then if you have lawn, put the lawn, and the roots will go down and get what they need. And so you catch all of the rain when it's raining.
Yeah.
And then your lawn or garden is waters itself through the summer.
That's really neat. Yeah.
But it's again tricky and very specialized.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of experimental. I had a customer that tried that in his raised beds, a system like that. People are also putting little compost piles inside their vegetable gardens, like in the middle, and they're like cutting out the bottoms, and then they just let the scraps decompose and actually gradually feed the soil. Yeah, I think we're going to get more and more creative, and I love hearing about that stuff because people are getting really, really creative. Of course, there's just when we say a barrel, we usually say 35 to 55 gallons. A lot of people like to use those. We used to sell them at a discount at the district, but when I saw too many of them that weren't installed, people like to get them because they're inexpensive, but you have to hook them up or they won't be used.
In the previous slide, the three tanks that were there that had a real tall one, that one scares me to death.
It should.
We have to clean out, for our freshwater tanks occasionally.
Yes.
You want to walk, you can barely fit through the hole, but I certainly wouldn't want to be 20 feet down in that thing. He could die.
You're right, and there's a ratio too. It can't be, the height can't be more than 2 times the base, or you have to have it reinforced with a concrete pad. So it's really dangerous if we're in earthquake country, or if it's their subsidence and it rolls down the hill.
All of the people who are not in the incorporated area have to have it. When we first started, it was 5,000 gallons. Now it's 10 to 15,000 gallons, which would be 3 to 5,000 gallon tanks.
Wow.
Which are for your property. And they take up a lot of room.
Oh yeah, they do.
And like you say, most people get the squatty
ones,
yeah, because you don't want it sinking into the ground or tipping or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they could sure make the opening, the lids a little bigger. I mean, we crawled in there and you could barely get in.
Yeah, that's good you have a buddy on that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's just a before and after. You see mostly probably an unused lawn. There's nothing wrong with lawn inherently, but this is just using an inordinate amount of water for the benefit. And so what they did is sheet mulch and they added plants. And instead of watering 3 times a week, they're probably watering maybe twice a month. This is where someone sheet mulched, but they didn't quite dig out the side very good. It's kind of sloppy and messy in here. So they kind of transformed it and said, okay, we're going to dig down. And this was a dry creek bed, but look, this is hooked up to their downspout. So it's actually moving through their landscape and slowing, sinking, and spreading the water. So now they can plant around there and they won't have to irrigate as much. And that is that after 2 years, that same landscape. You can't even really see the dry creek bed, huh? And we talked about the maintenance contract. We don't want to shear plants. It's not healthy for the plant. We want mulch on the ground. A lot of times when we use blowers, you see they're blowing off the top of the soil and they're leaving it bare. And so, and then you're creating dust and allergens. So that's something we'd rather have the natural duff and the leaf litter on the bottom. Sometimes, you don't like the aesthetic of it, but there's certain times when you might want to try it. Certainly if you have tons of leaves, you don't want them piling up. But if you can just have a little bit of leaf duff, it really does help the environment. Or you can put heavy mulch down and then rake leaves off the top of that. There's leaf blowers are kind of, they were this invention that
We wish never happened.
yeah, I mean, they can save time, but they had a contest. They had someone on a push broom and they can be almost as fast. But, they certainly have their place. We do recommend that the electric ones are used because these small engines create a lot of pollution, air pollution. Actually, all the landscapes in America create 5% of the air pollution, just from lawnmowers, chainsaws,
Really?
gas powered, because these are, I think, like 2-stroke engines.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're more polluting, and I don't know why, but.
Well, it's like a chainsaw, it's 5 times the pollutants of a car.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's a lot of pollution. I have an irrigation maintenance checklist. We're talking about maintenance again, and we already talked about irrigation. If you want that, it's just, if you have a sprinkler system, it's just kind of a checklist. Again, if you pay someone, you can give them this, or you can just, you can pass it on if you want. So we want people to maintain their irrigation. The problem is people put it in and they think, oh, it's done, but it needs maintenance. A lot of maintenance, actually. Gray water. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about gray water. I have a whole slideshow on it, and we do workshops. We do installation workshops. We've put in about 5 of them in Scotts Valley over the years, and I have it on my washing machine. I love it. It's fabulous. But it's a whole other topic. But I will give you the gist of it. Why do we want it? Well, that's our old drought map. We're not in drought like that now, but why not make yourself resilient? Save money now, so that when the next drought comes, and I hate to promise you, but it will, you're just more resilient. So every time you do laundry, with a laundry landscape system, you're watering your plants. That excess wastewater goes out to your plants. So that's the easiest system. You can also do bathtubs, you can do showers, and you can do bathroom sinks in the state of California. And you don't have to have a permit for a washing machine, so that's pretty cool. So it saves energy, it reduces summer irrigation demand because you can use it all year round, whereas rainwater harvesting, once the tanks are empty, the water's gone.
You have to filter the water or?
No, good question. It's really good for perennial plants. You don't want to use it in lawns because you want to put it under the ground. I'll show you the system, how it goes out into the landscape. A lot of native drought tolerant plants don't like a lot of water, so it may not be appropriate. And vegetable crops where this water could come in contact, the state's trying to be on the safe side. So they say if it's a root plant, we don't want you to put it on there. Of course, no one's gonna know, but it's probably a better idea to use like corn, beans, tomatoes, things that grow up off the ground, so it's only going to the root system. But you know what's in your laundry water, right? You have to use special soaps. You can't use sodium-based soaps. So this is what the state says. We don't want it to run off your property. We don't want mosquitoes to form. We don't want kids or animals to drink it. It's common sense. It's actually a good code. And this is how we infiltrate it. It goes out into the soil, and we dig like a little half moon around the plant, like a fruit tree. And then sometimes we get just an old 1 gallon nursery pot, we turn it upside down, we cut the top off, or we get a utility pot. We let the water just sink down into the mulch, and we let the mulch just wick it around. So you can see right here, this is a fruit tree. This is a gray water outlet, and there's probably one here. So the water's gonna tend to wick around here. Why don't we put it here? Because we want to encourage the root growth. And if this tree gets really big, we could move it out in a few years. So it's really fun. We have big parties where people get together and we put these in for people, and it's really fun. So you can see, we don't want it to flow out into be daylighted. We want it just 2 inches under the ground. And you can just cover it with mulch. You don't have to have anything special. This is what it might look like inside your house. There's gonna be a valve next to you. Let's say it's for your washer. You're gonna be able to turn it off and on. Let's say you're bleaching some clothes. You don't want that out on your plants. It'll kill your plants over time. So there has to be a valve to turn that off. This is a branch drain that is gravity fed with showers and bathtubs. This is what a washing machine might look like going out to little emitters. This is what it might look like inside, and then outside the wall. You drill through your house usually. You can't see anything at the surface, it's all underground. And this is what a branch drain system from, if you use showers or bathtubs, this is what a passive gravity fed system will look like. Let's say you have your shower and you want to water a plant over here. It has to be on a plumber's ball. That means it has to go a 1/4 inch down for every foot it goes across. So it's a little bit tricky. People end up putting pumps on them to get the water where they want it to go. With your laundry machine, you actually have a pump on your washing machine, and it'll push the water out about 50 feet away from your washer. So that's another reason it's a really easy, it's the easiest, simplest system to use. These are our 10 guidelines. As a review, I try to kind of go quickly because I think that's a lot of information. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes.
A lot of the green building conferences have a display home where they use cattails, etc., various stages of plants to treat the gray water. And when they go through about 3 or 4 stages, at each stage, they're able to use that water for a different use.